There are a lot of individuals in our community, in Arcata and Humboldt County as a larger entity, who self-identify as being liberal or open-minded or welcoming, but maybe that's not what they're overtly portraying.
So we have a history of bias, but we have a veneer of progressivity.
Our community should be better than this. There shouldn't be bottles thrown at people of color as they're walking home. Somebody shouldn't be chased back to campus after being attacked with a knife because this is their only safe haven. There should be community members who are willing to stand up and say that's wrong.
For someone to tell me this is America, that really raised a lot of questions in my head.
A lot of landlords are biased and they don't want to rent to a lot of students because they think students come with this, that, and that. A lot of landlords may be prejudiced. They don't want to rent to students of color.
If you are a person of color here, it's extremely difficult to find good housing. And it doesn't matter whether you have a PhD and are a professor at HSU, newly hired professor at HSU, or if you're a student, first generation out of college, all of Black, Indigenous, and people of color tend to face the same kinds of discrimination.
There is still housing inequities that are occurring in our community, in particular as they relate to our students of color.
I think those biases show up in terms of not being able to rent even if they're able to afford. Basically, not getting very responsive landlords, or landlords blaming them for things that they may not actually be responsible for. Slow services, I've heard all of these kinds of things from people of color who are renting here, and even some who've tried to buy housing. So it's no different from the rest of the country, even though I think often people here think that we must be.
I have a couple of friends with more obviously ethnic sounding names who really struggled to find housing until they changed their format on their housing applications and started listing kind of the whiter sounding name at the top and the rest of the tenants' names in the body of the application.
I've heard that some property managements or landlords, I'm not sure who, are like, no, unless you show up in person, I can't rent to you. And I'm like, you can't do that. Who cares what they look like? Are they qualified? They have a good rental history? Why do you care what they look like?
My wife and I are an interracial couple. We've faced housing discrimination every place we've ever lived, and we've lived in a number of places around the country. And we've gotten basically to the point where my wife basically does all of the renting, and it just makes it that much easier.
The tenants are looking for community here. They're looking for support and a neighborhood and to grow a community.
I think we have to be humble and be open to believing people's experiences even when we can't see them and we can't identify with them, because they're real. They might not be ours, but they're real.
I grew up in this community, so I care about it. I feel like my roots are here. It's important to me that we can do better as a community.